and a spying operation that they are currently conducting or have been conducting for some time.
Everything changes.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the channel. It's April 25th, 2021. It's Sunday afternoon, and I don't always do reselling videos on this channel. Sometimes it's more news-based, but it has to do with some of the platforms or the websites that we use. And today's story is about the USPS and a spying operation that they are currently conducting or have been conducting for some time. And this is probably one of the weirdest, most disturbing stories coming out of the shipping service that most of us use in quite a long time. We've had some stories about the post office and about some of the different things that they do, and the money and this and that and politics. But this one takes the cake. And so I have the story up on Yahoo News, no less. It's everywhere, but this is just the one I thought was the most inclusive. And so I'm just going to read from my laptop, pretty much word for word, and cover this. I'll link the story below as always. I'll probably put some screenshots during the video up in the corners. But basically the story, and this is from Jana Winter. She put this out on Wednesday, actually, Wednesday afternoon. So a few days old. I wanted to give it a few days to make sure that I could fact check it. And it looks like it's legit. In fact, the day later, the USPS put out a response basically confirming that this is what's going on. So it says the Postal Service is running a covert operation program that monitors Americans' social media posts. Okay, so we know through our experience over the last few years especially that Facebook and other social media platforms, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, local and state federal authorities and police department, and all of those Homeland Security, Border Patrol and all that, they monitor social media posts. And they do it because criminals are dumb. Like a lot of criminals, there's this one criminal I was watching a story on like a Netflix documentary or something, was committing like those Nigerian prince scams from like Jamaica or something on Americans. And he was traveling the world with like Gucci and Louis clothes and going on shopping sprees and booking private jets and driving Rolls Royces. And the FBI tracked him through his Instagram post when he took a trip to like Las Vegas, and they knew he was on US territory, and they got him. Criminals are inherently stupid. And so social media is a great way for these people and these authorities to track them and catch them. And so I get it, and I mostly support it, because if you're not doing bad stuff, you've got nothing bad that's gonna pop up on your Instagram or your Facebook. If you're just posting normal things like, hey, we're hanging out at the pool, hey, we're doing this, and you're not up to any, no good, you have nothing to worry about, right? But if you're out, committing wire fraud and you're posting it all over social media, probably going to go to jail, and you probably deserve to go to jail. So they do it for a lot of drug addicts or drug dealers too. They post a lot of stuff like that. So here's where it becomes a problem. Let me just read this for you guys. The law enforcement arm of the U.S. Postal Service, so they have the postal inspector. If you don't know that, if you commit fraud, like if you beat up a USPS delivery person, or you steal from the USPS, or you commit fraud on them, or paying with stolen credit cards for postage, it's a federal crime, and they have the federal USPS postal inspector, who is actually their own law enforcement arm, and they can prosecute you and have you put in jail. So they've quietly been running a program that tracks and collects American social media posts, including those about planned protest, according to a document obtained by Yahoo News. So they're actually focusing on posts that have to do with protest. Now, I will say I have one good reason I can think of the post office might be wanting to track social media events and posts about protests, because there are USPS locations and USPS blue boxes and things that might come under danger, and might, people were really mad at the USPS, so they might be a target. So they are keeping an eye on their assets and their locations, and that's okay. Like if you're just looking at a social media post and going, hey, there's going to be a protest, at the corner of 1st and 2nd Street, and we have a location there and a bunch of blue boxes, we might want to board up or take precautions. I can understand that, okay? The details of the surveillance effort known as ICOP, that's ICOP, or Internet Covert Operations Program, how clever, have not previously been made public. The work involves having analysts troll through social media sites to look for what the document describes as inflammatory postings and then sharing that information across government agencies. So they're looking for what they deem inflammatory, which, is that not opinionated? I don't know. Okay. So analysts with the United States Postal Service Inspection Service Internet Covert Operations Program monitored significant activity regarding planned protests occurring internationally and domestically on March 20th, 2021, says the March 16th government bulletin marked as law enforcement sensitive. So last month on March 20th, and distributed that through the Department of Homeland Security's fusion centers. Locations and times have been identified for these protests, which are being distributed online across social media platforms to include right-wing leaning Parler and Telegram accounts. So they're saying that they didn't just target Democratic or left-leaning protests and groups. They were targeting all different types and including using Parler, which is interesting because in March, Parler was not active. Parler just got permission to come back up active. They've been down, so I don't know what they were saying that they were looking at Parler in March, because that's completely false. I love when people put lies out, the U.S. government, and it's so easily caught. Like, whatever. A number of groups were expected to gather in cities around the globe on March 20th as part of a worldwide rally for freedom and democracy to protest everything from lockdown measures to 5G. Parler users have commented about their intent to use the rallies to engage in violence. Image 3 on the right is a screenshot from Parler indicating two users discussing the event as an opportunity to engage in a fight and do serious damage, says the bulletin. So they found a post about protesters wanting to cause damage. No intelligence is available to suggest the legitimacy of these threats. A lot of people say a lot of stuff on social media and they're just talking, flapping their lips. The bulletin includes screenshots of posts about the protests from Facebook, Parler, Telegram, and other social media sites. What is Telegram? Can somebody tell me what Telegram is below? I've never even heard of it. I'll Google it later, but yeah, comment below. Individuals mentioned by name include one alleged Proud Boy and several others whose identifying details were included, but whose posts did not appear to contain anything threatening. ICOP analysts are currently monitoring these social media channels for any potential threats stemming from the scheduled protests and will disseminate intelligence updates as needed, the bulletin says. So then they provide some screenshots in a bulletin or whatever. Again, you can read that linked below in the story. So here's where I get that it's like disturbing. The government's monitoring of American social media is a subject of ongoing debate inside and outside government, particularly in recent months following a rise in domestic unrest. While posts on platforms such as Facebook and Parler have allowed law enforcement to track down and arrest rioters who assaulted the Capitol on January 6th, such data collection has also sparked concerns about the government surveilling peaceful protesters or those engaged in a protected First Amendment activity. When contacted by Yahoo News, civil liberties experts expressed alarm at the post office's surveillance program. It's a mystery, said University of Chicago law professor Jeffrey Stone. I don't understand why the government would go to the post office for examining the internet for security issues. Yeah, why call the post office? Why not call the FBI? Why not call local police authorities? Why not call the Department of Homeland Security? Why are we calling the post office to investigate American social media usage? Anybody? Anybody got an idea? Anybody got an answer for that? The post, or a theory maybe? Comment below. The Postal Service has had a turbulent year facing financial insolvency and allegations that its head postmaster, General Louis DeJoy, who was appointed by President Donald Trump, was slowing down deliveries just as a pandemic vastly increased the number of mail-in ballots for the 2020 election. Why the post office would now move on to social media surveillance, which would appear to have little to do with its mail deliveries, is unclear. Ding, 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 bingo. That's my problem. Look, you guys can't take care of your own business. You're struggling. You're not making money. You needed federal bailout dollars. You're turning a net loss every year. You've got employees that are ticked off. You've got people that are ticked off. You've got deliveries that are slowed down. Deliveries that weren't even showing up. Focus on what it is you do. The last thing the post office should be doing is worrying about what we're doing on social media. Worry about getting our packages delivered that we spend hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars paying you to do, right? Like, why would a guy that makes ice cream all day be worried about the firefighters that are fighting a car fire? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's so far out of the realm of the scope of their business. It's nuts. Rachel Levinson Waldman, the deputy director of the Brennan Center for Justice, Liberty, and National Security Program, said it's a little bizarre. Based on the very minimal information that's available online, it appears that ICOP is meant to root out misuse of the postal system by online actors, which doesn't seem to encompass what's going on here. Okay, so let's say there's somebody on Facebook with a reselling group similar to mine who's telling people to scam the USPS and use media mail for everything. Or perhaps there's a YouTube reseller who puts up a video about charging every single first-class package, no matter what it weighs, with 4 ounces, and just printing out all the labels and committing fraud and encouraging their audience to do that, which, if you don't get the gist of my statement here, has happened. So let's say there's people doing that. That would be a legitimate reason for the postal inspector to go, hey, that guy is telling the entire audience to use media mail. That's really bad. We should go after him and figure out what's going on. I would completely be in compliance with that. I come on here and tell everyone to use the legitimate ways to ship every day. Don't try to cheat the Postal Service. It hurts all of us, and you can end up in jail because clearly they're watching. Some people don't care, they don't listen. Anyways, I could see that. That would be a legitimate way to use social media to catch people, right? It's not at all clear why their mandate would include monitoring of social media that's unrelated to use of the post office. Exactly. Other than what I just laid out, like people doing that or things about wire fraud or using the post office to mail stuff and cheat them out, if it doesn't have to do with that, it's none of their business, really. Levinson Waldman also questioned the legal authority of the Postal Service to monitor social media activity. If the individuals they're monitoring are carrying out or planning criminal activity, that should be the purview of the FBI. Absolutely correct. If they're simply engaging in lawfully protected speech, even if it's arduous or objectionable, then monitoring to them on the basis raises serious constitutional concerns. It's absolutely a violation of civil rights. There's no doubt about it. It's almost like a profiling, right? The U.S. Postal Inspection Service did not respond to specific questions sent by Yahoo, but provided a general statement on its authority. This is their statement. This is the USPS's response. And we're almost to the end, so I appreciate you guys hanging on for this video. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service is the primary law enforcement, crime prevention, and security arm of the USPS, which we talked about. As such, the USPS Inspection Service has federal law enforcement officers, postal inspectors, who enforce approximately 200 federal laws to achieve the agency's mission. So there's literally 200 things you can do to break the law against the post office. Beating up a postal worker, killing somebody, wire fraud, mail fraud, postage fraud. There's so many different things that you can, misuse of materials. So these are all the things, the laws that they have in place. There's a whole book of them. Protect the U.S. Postal Service and its employees, infrastructure, and customers. Enforce the laws that defend the nation's mail system from illegal or dangerous use and ensure public trust in the mail. So that's their job. That's their mission statement. The Internet Covert Operations Program is a function within the U.S. Postal Inspection Service which assesses threats to Postal Service employees and its infrastructure by monitoring publicly available open source information. In other words, they're allowed to monitor what's publicly posted on social media. Fair enough, they are. And if it's endangering their trucks or their employees or, possibly their locations, then fine, absolutely. Additionally, the Inspection Service collaborates with federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies to proactively identify and assess potential threats to the post office, employees, customers, overall mail processing, transportation network, etc., etc. In order to preserve operational effectiveness, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service does not discuss its protocols, investigation methods, or tools. In other words, yes, we're doing it, but we're not going to tell you what we're doing. The Postal Service isn't the only part of the government expanding its monitoring. DHS officials spoke about that department's involvement in monitoring social media for domestic terrorism threats. We know that this threat is fueled mainly by false narratives, conspiracy theories, extremist rhetoric read through social media and other platforms, and that's why we're kicking off engagement directly with social media companies. So if you're doing really bad things and you're putting it on social media, they're going to catch you. If you are doing bad things, stop doing bad things. If you are doing bad things and you're going to continue doing bad things, don't be an idiot and post it on social media. Or actually be an idiot and post it on social media so they can arrest you. DHS is coordinating with civil rights and civil liberty colleagues as well as our private colleagues to ensure everything we're doing is being done responsibly and in line with civil rights, civil liberties, and individual privacy laws. So they do realize, like, hey, we're walking a real fine line here, guys. Stone, the University of Chicago professor, questioned why the post office would be tasked with something like identifying violent protests 2 months after the January 6th attack, which would appear to have little or nothing to do with the post office's role in delivering mail. I just don't think the Postal Service has the degree of sophistication that you would want if you were dealing with national security issues of this sort. Right, it's not their job. They don't know what they're doing. That part is puzzling. There's so many other federal agencies that could do this. You've got FBI, Homeland Security, so on and so on. I don't know why the post office is doing this. Perfect ending to that. I don't know why they're doing it either. It seems a little weird, and it seems every day social media becomes a bigger and bigger big brother threat. With that said, I welcome your opinions and your thoughts on this. I know it's not reselling related directly, but it is a sub-arm here of the USPS that most of us use. eBay, Posh, Amazon sellers, we all use it. And it's interesting to see like just what a complete nightmare and a mess and a wreck the USPS is. With that said, people say, why not boycott them? Why? Well, I do what's best for my business. And I got to tell you, I didn't encounter a ton of the delays that you guys did. But even so, most of the packages that I ship would be $3, $4, $5 more through UPS or FedEx times hundreds and hundreds of packages. And I do use UPS for a ton of our wholesale orders. Almost all of our wholesale orders are UPS. So we have only been doing 50% through USPS when it was on eBay. My eBay stores have been shut down, and Amazon non-FBA, FBM, usually goes post office. So that is the parts that we use for the post office for, not the other parts. But with it being shut down over the last month, I haven't been using them. But on a normal basis, I save thousands of dollars a month using USPS versus using UPS or FedEx. So if I was to even just save $2,000 a month, you're talking about $25,000 a year simply by sucking it up and using the post office. So I do what's best for my business. That's the reason why. I hope, and this is my thought and my prayers, that somebody does something about the post office, puts them back on their mission, gets their blinders off, makes their mission clear, and gets to work and just absolutely reforms the post office, starts making money, and allows us all to continue to ship at a great rate and actually get the service we're paying for and not have to spend $10 to ship, what essentially amounts to a basic 4-ounce necktie. So with that said, I'll leave it to you guys to read the rest of the story if you want, link below. Leave your opinions, comments, questions, concerns about the post office or whatever you have in the comment section. I'll read them and respond to as many as I can. As always, thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll have a bunch more reselling videos coming out all week long, as I will be here in the resort for at least another couple of weeks, it looks like, unfortunately. Okay, so thank you guys. Hit that like button. Make sure you turn the thumb blue. That means you liked it. And subscribe to the channel with your notifications on right on down there so you don't miss out on any more important videos. And keep what you want private off of social media. Bye, guys.